One fight that I've always wanted to see would have been a fight with you and David Haye. I've always felt like a fighter of your caliber would have had his number.
You know, David Haye is a real good heavyweight. He's a solid heavyweight. And that's a fight that right now I still would be interested in because I just feel like, you know, I have his number. You know what I mean? He's a fighter that's very aggressive. He swings a lot of times, and, you know, he leaves himself open for a lot of things. I think it would be an exciting fight. And I think if we fought today, it'll show the people that I belong in the heavyweight division, that I'm a serious threat, you know what I'm saying, in the heavyweight division. And, you know, but I don't know what David Haye wants to do. I think that fight will be really marketable overseas. I think if he wants to continue in the heavyweight division, he needs that type of fight, a name opponent, a name contender. He really solidified himself as a heavyweight that's still valuable. I mean, when you look at the fight he had against Vladimir, man, you know, he did nothing well in that fight. He stunk up the place. And for him to have to try to, you know, catapult that into a fight with Vitaly, it's absurd. You know, it really is. So if he chooses to retire, I think it's the best thing for him if he's not truly trying to, you know, accept a challenge like me. I was trying to fight him before he had that fight with Vladimir. I was trying to fight him before I fought Nagy Aguilera. You know what I mean? But, you know, like I said, none of these guys really want to really gamble with me because they know I can fight. You feel me? I got so many multitudes of ability that a lot of these guys think that, you know, they can just come in and throw 1-2s and right hands and get me out of there. But one thing I can truly say, man, outside of the Hopkins fight, I really haven't been touched. You feel me? One time with Eric Harding, I got a broken jaw. But you ain't never seen me busted up in a fight, drop, straggling all over the ring, or dominating any fight, not even Chad Dawson. I mean, I feel like this. He won the first fight, I take my hat off to him. If you watch that fight, the second fight, regardless of the scorecard, I know when I lose a fight. And I'm the first one to admit that. I don't feel like I lost. I had Dawson in trouble that fight. I landed clearly the more cleaner shots. I felt like my jab was effective the whole night. I dictated the rounds, and I think I won clearly more rounds than Chad Dawson.
Well, let me ask you real quick about Vladimir, A.T. I mean, how come that fight isn't happening? I don't understand why they would go after Mormek as opposed to, you know, taking you up on the offer.
I feel like this. I'm at a position where I've taken enough risk in my career, and if I'm going to take a risk, I mean, the reward is going to have to match the risk. And there's only a few fighters out there that the reward actually match the risk that I'm willing to take. So, you know, I paid my dues. You know what I mean? I paid my dues coming up through the ranks, having to beat everybody ranked above me until I got, you know, nowhere. When I cornered Roy Jones and he had really no out and he had to fight me, that was the only time I had my opportunity. I beat Reggie Johnson. I beat Eric Harding. You know, I beat undefeated fighters, Ben Gosmir coming up. I beat knockout artist Lincoln Carter. You never heard from him again. I beat Chris Johnson, Olympic bronze medalist. You know, I beat everybody that was ranked above me. And that's when I got my opportunity, and I beat Roy Jones 3 times straight. So, you know, I stand on my ability. I stand on my boxing, my career. I stand on it. You know what I mean? Ain't but two people can say that they beat me, that I haven't avenged those losses in dramatic fashion.
I can probably send you 10 emails of people who have asked me about this. So now that we got you on, I'm going to ask you so they can hear from the horse's mouth. When you fought Roy Jones going into that second fight, Roy was still viewed as invincible in the eyes of anybody who saw him. And everybody remembers you guys standing in front of the referee when you hit him with the infamous, "Do you have any excuses tonight, Roy?" When I saw that, my personal instincts was this dude is not going to be denied. Something dangerous about to happen, and that's exactly what happened. Can you take us through what the hell gave you the nuts to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it basically stemmed from the first fight, man. You know, the first fight I think was totally a highway robbery. You know, even when Roy was throwing his punches, I was dressed down in defense. HBO once again with the pom-poms out cheering about. You know, I won the 12th round. I won the 11th round clearly. They gave this guy my titles, you know what I'm saying? Then they want to make excuses for the guy. If you go back and see the footage when Larry Merchant was in the dressing room with Roy Jones, he gives this guy built-in excuses. He asked this guy, we know you have to come down and wait, and how are you feeling? I know that it's draining. They gave this guy built-in excuses because they knew I was coming to fight. I mean, that was basically it. When they took my titles, no one remembered that I came in unified champ. I had the IBF and the WBC championship that I had won against Montel Griffin. Roy Jones was no longer champion. You can't tell me this guy took my titles in Vegas that night. So when they gave the guy the titles, I was pissed. It really hurt me to my heart. I knew my whole training camp was I got to take it out of the judge's hand. If you go back to all the pre-fight interviews, I told them I'm knocking Roy out. That's it. I'm knocking Roy out. But, you know, I guess they thought I was just whistling in the graveyard. And when we got into the center of the ring, I heard I was compelled to just say something. You have any excuses tonight, Roy? Because whatever happens tonight, this is what it's going to be. You got your chance, I got my chance. Whatever it's going to be, this is what we're going to be remembered by right now. All excuses aside. And I knocked him out, and I then came back and beat him in the rematch in Tampa. You know, and if the ropes wasn't loose, if the ropes wasn't severely loose in that fight, I would have got him out of there. Because every time I went to make leverage with my left hand and my combination, he would lean all the way back and take everything off of my shots. You know what I mean? So I really couldn't get him where I wanted to. When I got him in the middle of the ring and caught him with a right hook, he was on Quill Street. And the same rope saved him. I went over the ropes almost in the 11th round when I was about to get him out of there. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's water under the bridge. But my whole thing is this. After the Hopkins fight, I have won the light heavyweight title twice and gone on to win the Cruiserweight Championship. You know, I'm 42 as well. You know, so the whole thing about it is I'm still here. From the 96 Olympic team, you got two fighters that are still relevant. That's me and Money Mayweather. You know, so I stand on my ability and my gift and my talent. And like I said, I ain't ready to go nowhere. I want the heavyweight title. So after Vladimir gets through sparring over there in England or wherever he at, he can come see me. And if it's not him, then David Haye can get ready. You know, if he really want to fight and show the world that he's still relevant, I'm ready for that fight. If not, they got a guy in Russia named Povetkin. I'm ready for that fight.
What if they don't come knocking on your door, though, AT? Like, what if the Klitschko's, the Povetkin, like, what if they don't? Are you going to have to show up at their press conference and lay down the gauntlet?
No, we ain't got to do that no more. Where else they going to go? Where else they going to go to fight somebody with my credentials and that can make them a household name overnight if they're fortunate enough to win? So the money talk, man. And in the cruiserweight division, I'm that guy. That's bottom line. If they want to come to America and make a name for themselves, they got to go through me. If Vladimir want to come over here and fight somebody that really knows how to fight, and I tell you right now, I got the recipe to beat him. I tell you right now, I got the recipe to beat him because I'm southpaw. Trust me, at 215, I'm cracking. And like I said, I'm going to get inside. I don't know if I can say this, but they don't know how to suck his kitty, see? I'm going to be in close. I'm going to be digging into the body. He's going to have to fight me with alligator arms, and I just don't think he's going to be able to reach me with those alligator arms and do nothing. You feel me? I'm going to be in close, throwing those right hooks, and over the top, that overhand left, which I showed and demonstrated against Danny Green. It's a powerful punch, and I can reach a guy that's 6'8" with that punch. I guarantee you.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. And I think that I'm telling you, when Klitschko just won his last fight, I threw Antonio's name out there. I was the first one to say, you know, hey, I would love to see Antonio Tarver get a crack at Vladimir Klitschko. It's just I don't know if they're going to do it, and if they're not going to come knocking on your door, how do you make them? You know, how do you force that fight? Basically, how do you say, look,
you know,
this is a fight that people need to see.
It's something about being a recognized heavyweight in America. That's the whole thing. You know what I mean? These guys really miss America. You know, hey, HBO hadn't shown where they fight since, you know, they haven't got prime time on HBO in a while. You feel me? And I just don't know if HBO is going to be so ready to give them a shot at Chris Arreola. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak on it. But my whole thing is this. I know that Showtime or HBO will be willing to truly give them a shot if they're willing to come fight me. I just believe that. I know Showtime will, and I can't speak for HBO, but I'm sure with Al Haymon's connection, I mean, that's a fight. I mean, it's a fight that I think the people will want to see. If I'm calling them out, answer the phone. You cannot fight Morley and then fight David Haye. I mean, a guy that's 6'3", and I'm bigger than him naturally. I mean, I'll prove by beating Olympic gold medalists that I deserve a shot at the Klitschko. But when they get tired of those fighting those bums that can't fight, they're going to have to come and fight a legitimate fighter that has forgotten more about boxing than half of these guys even know. You feel me?
I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when I'm done and make sure it's broke. When I'm gone, no one gets on, cause I won't let nobody press up and mess up the scene I set. I like to stand in the crowd and watch the people wonder, damn. But think about it, then you understand. I'm just an addict, addicted to music. Maybe it's a habit, I gotta use it. Even if it's jazz or the quiet storm, I hook a beat up.